Democratic State Representative Francesca Hong is entering the race for Wisconsin's next governor. Hong is a former executive chef and the first Asian American state legislator in Wisconsin history. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson sat down with Hong one-on-one earlier this week to learn more about her campaign.
Why do you want to be governor?
The people of Wisconsin work hard, they hustle, and they deserve a governor who works just as hard and hustles as well.
What would be your top priority as governor?
Childcare and fully funding public education, ensuring that our small businesses have opportunities to care for their employees and expand. The caregivers in our state deserve fair wages and working conditions.
So you're a member of the Assembly Socialist Caucus. How would you plan to work across the aisle to get things done?
I've worked across the aisle and worked to pass legislation, including Asian American education for K-12 public schools. It's centering the people of Wisconsin and what they need is oftentimes how you can build some relationships and common ground to pass progressive legislation. But I'm going to ensure that there are resources for candidates across the state who are running as progressives and Democrats to ensure we have a majority.
This is a widening Democratic primary. Why would you be the best pick for the party?
I'm a proud renter, single mom. I still work in the service industry. I think it makes politics and government more accessible because you're able to relate to the person in power.
As governor, how would you work with the Trump administration?
It's difficult to work with a regime, but I understand that the federal government provides resources for the state.
You've previously described the Tavern League as corrupt, crooked, the C word. Your chief of staff previously tweeted F your statues after destructive protests toppled a few at the Capitol. Do you stand by those comments today?
It's important to speak truth to power and recognize that when you fight power, power fights you back. And sometimes you have to engage in a way that expresses your feelings and shows that you're willing to fight.
Some critics may say comments like that may contribute to more polarization.
I think that we have a regime right now that is perpetuating cycles of violence by harming communities, distracting us by blaming vulnerable people. This is what's contributing to polarization.